Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, a little better now that I've had 15 or 20 minutes to cool off after that disappointing hockey game where the Oilers at least managed to get 1 point out of it, but they had plenty of chances to come away with the maximum, and they were not able to do that.
It was a tough game, Bruce. I think, let me just go back and check this here. We have Edmonton with 19 grade A shots and
hmm
Ottawa with 13.
Okay.
So Edmonton, all kinds of chances to
Uh-huh.
score, and they only got two past Matt Murray. I think he stole the game.
Yeah,
He was clearly the better of the two goalies tonight. Mikko Koskinen had a lot of big saves,
he did.
but I found him lacking, honestly, on the first goal and the last goal. And those are two pretty big goals in any game. So he's not either of our bad things tonight, because I think he did make a lot
Mhm.
of great saves, especially in the second period and in overtime. But that last one, frustrating goal to see go in, I guess, kind of a tight angle shot. Why? And it found its way in. A hell of a shot, obviously, but I was frustrated by that. Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. So let's get rolling here. Your good thing tonight.
You got a hockey game to go to, eh? I'm
Yeah.
going to go. I'm going to go with the play that got the 1 point, the most important goal in hockey, the game tying goal, which the Oilers always seem to need because they always seem to be behind in these games. Anyway, tonight they got it with a very nice execution on what looked to be a 2-on-1 with Zach Hyman and Derek Ryan, who got promoted into what had been Zach Cassian's spot on the second line or third line, I guess, with Nuge and Hyman. And Hyman passed the puck to coming over the blue line, passed the puck to Ryan down low in the slot. And Ryan had no angle, but he somehow saw a charging Darnell Nurse coming up the middle of the ice and pulled the puck back right into the slot perfectly, right onto Nurse's tape, and he just rifled it home from close range. And I particularly like to single out Derek Ryan. What a beautiful pass that was. On a night where the Oilers did not make many beautiful passes and did not execute well in the slot. But Ryan executed there, and it meant the goal and it meant the point, with the chance at the second point that tonight they were not able to convert.
I'll go with Leon Draisaitl on the
hmm
attack. He
hmm
had a fairly high event night, I think it's fair to
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
He was
I'll
he
say.
caused a couple, at least one breakaway and maybe an overtime. I mean, that's a tougher situation in 3-on-3. Like, to blame anyone for a breakaway on a 3-on-3 situation is, that's a bit iffy. But he did one at even strength earlier in the game. That said, on the attack, he was fantastic, and he was unlucky not to put up multiple points tonight's game. He had 8 major contributions at even strength and one on the power play to grade A shots. In the first period, he made a fantastic pass to set up Puljujarvi. In the second period, CC sends him in, and he makes a great rush in on net. He kind of lost the handle at the last second there a little bit and was unable to score. In the third period, uh, he just kind of took over the game a little bit in the early stages of the third period. And there was one play just after the Oilers' power play. He'd been out there for some time, and he rushes up the ice, does a button hook, and Evander Kane for just a fabulous chance, and Kane's unable to score. I mean, he got off a good shot, and then he got a good rebound shot as well. And then just a moment later, a short time later, he does the same, setting up Ryan McLeod for another great slot shot. So when we move to overtime, Duncan Keith sent him in, Draisaitl in. Again, he's in overtime. He almost scores. And a moment later, McDavid sends Draisaitl in. I think there's about a minute and a half left, and he sends Draisaitl in. And it's just like you're just expecting him to score. and he doesn't. He's not able to beat Matt Murray, and there's a rebound shot there as well that he's not able to beat Matt Murray on. So he's just in the middle of all kinds of absolutely 5 alarm chances at net, and no puck luck for Leon Draisaitl tonight, unfortunately. What's your bad thing, Bruce?
My bad thing is Oilers' execution. I thought was just way off in this game. And the closer they got to the Ottawa net, it seemed like the worse the execution got. They would be bobbling pucks. They'd miss passes. They would miss the net on what seemed like good chances, or they'd hit the net by hitting Matt Murray right on the crest, which by the end of the game, I was thinking his crest must be 4 by 6 feet because that's what they keep on hitting when they do hit the net. And just bobbling of the puck. You mentioned how Leon had that breakaway and he puck jumped on him or whatever, and he wound up having to sort of one hand a weak shot in on net rather than take the shot that he wanted. And Connor McDavid, my goodness, I don't know how many times he lost control of the puck tonight, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And he did score one goal, and the one goal he did score was the one time he just said, "Oh, the hell with it, I'm just going to let it rip." And he fired a shot and found a hole in Matt Murray and went through. But every time he tried to stick handle, which was pretty much every other time, it seemed like he would just bobble the puck or he wouldn't cooperate with him or it just wasn't clicking. And when the man with the fastest hands in the league isn't getting the puck to pay attention to him, well, the rest of the team was going to have a lot of trouble too, and they did. And I mean, they got 39 shots. They had all these scoring chances that you mentioned. I just thought this game was there for the taking with a little bit of cold-blooded finishing in the slot and around the net, and bearing down and just getting the job done. It just left me thinking they left points on the table by not finishing plays that were there to be finished.
They sure did, Bruce. You get 19 grade A shots and you don't convert on them. You just score 2 goals. I mean, you should have 4 or 5 goals. They should have had 4 or 5 goals. And maybe Matt Murray's was out of this world good, or maybe
I didn't think he was.
I didn't think he was. Yeah, it's more like they
remember
shot
any
at
sort
him.
of brilliant save that he made where he said, "Geez, he just stole a goal off of whoever," And I mean,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Koskinen actually had a couple more of those than Murray did, but maybe because Murray is just a better positional goalie or whatever. But it just left me frustrated that they just couldn't ever seem to make that play. I mean, there was one classic play, man. Kassian, he comes in 2-on-1 with Hyman, 2-on-1. The pass is there if he makes it right away. Well, Kassian being Kassian, he freezes and he doesn't make the pass. And somehow he sort of floats right into the slot, or he's right in front of the net and still he's there and nobody's challenged him, and he's got a perfect shooting lane from basically between the circles. Then he decides to pass it, whether it was Hyman or some other guy on the boards, like right from the slot, and just opportunity totally wasted twice. Failed to make the pass, failed to take the shot, did nothing. Just drive you nuts.
So I think I'm going to get at one of the reasons I think they didn't score tonight. How many power plays did they have, Bruce? 3?
3 over.
Okay. So some people might think this is a Picayune complaint, not a big deal, but it really bothered me. And it bothered me more as the game went along.
Mm-hmm.
So they get a first power play of the game, and they send out Evander Kane on the top unit.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Hyman and Jesse Puljujarvi have not been slouches in that role. They have been playing really well. And I know, Puljujarvi hasn't scored much, but Hyman's been scoring. He had a good comeback game last game. They're both fantastic screeners of the goalie. And the new guy comes to town, and suddenly he's taken their job. That bothered me. You can say, "Oh, good for the coach for being flexible enough to play the clearly superior goal scorer." I mean, Kane over his career has been a superior goal scorer to either Hyman or Puljujarvi. You could make that argument. The coach isn't, stuck. He doesn't have to earn his job. He doesn't have to But how about earning his job? I mean, I would have been, I would have hoping to see with Kane, a player with Kane's record on teams, to come in here and earn it. He got put on the top line with McDavid. Isn't that enough of a plum? Does he have to be on the power play? So that bothered me a bit. And I probably wouldn't have mentioned it. Definitely wouldn't have mentioned my peak if Evander Kane had scored, of course. Tippett would have been proven right. But here's what I saw of him on the power play. He wasn't screening the goalie. Like you have Puljujarvi and Hyman, they screen the goalie. And when the Oilers were setting up to shoot, Kane was doing the old Milan Lucic that used to drive me crazy. This great big guy, Lucic, and he'd be at the side of the net trying to tip the puck. Not getting in the eyes of the goalie, not screening of the goalie, but looking for that tip shot. Maybe Kane's really good at that and will score a lot more tip goals than Milan Lucic. But I just thought Lucic was a failure on the power play because of that in Edmonton. I never liked him there, and I didn't think he did his job. And Kane gets out there, and he does exactly the same thing. There was that great shot that McDavid took off the crossbar, and Kane was looking for the tip on that one. There was a number of shots early on where he's looking for the tip, and I'm just thinking, what? Like, is this how it's going to be? And then they did put Hyman out there for the last one, so I just didn't like that. I didn't like it. I didn't like the coach's decision, and then I didn't like Kane's execution, and it makes me wonder if he is the right guy to have on the power play. Like maybe they should just continue to go with Puljujarvi and Hyman. I've liked their play. I think they've been really strong there. So go ahead.
Puljujarvi got 35 seconds on the power play tonight. 35 seconds. Zach Casting got 53 seconds, and Ryan McLeod got 1:05. So yes, I didn't even get much time on the second unit, let alone the first. And he's been fairly successful there. That said, the power play has been gone pretty dry for quite a long time now to put it polite.
And Bruce, Ottawa got a power play goal. The Oilers didn't. Like, here we go again. That was the difference. That's one way to look at the game, that it lost on special teams.
I got a number for you on that. This isn't my number, but in the last 12 games, Edmonton scored 3 goals on special teams and allowed 14. And in those 12 games, they've been outscored on special teams in 10 of the 12 games, broke even in 1, and actually came out ahead in 1 game. The 1 game Bouchard got the 2 power play goals. And since then, it's just right back into their 0 for their last 11 on the power play. And it's just, I don't know this was a world-class power play. It's number 1 in the league 2 years in a row. That was completely pouring them in earlier this year. And I don't know what's happened. Like, the first power play tonight was so brutal. They never did anything. Like, you got to take, you're only going to get 2 or 3 chances for the game. Make them count. Raise your urgency level. Anyway, it's a problem. And Dave Tippett, special teams wizard Dave Tippett, his special teams are getting crushed. And recently they've been able to get around that and find ways to win games without ever leaving them, in fact. But tonight, that difference of that power play goal, Ottawa went 1 for 2, Edmonton went 0 for 3. So you can't say, well, the refs didn't give them any chances. So I'm frustrated tonight. You can probably tell. Ottawa swept the season series. 1 year after Edmonton swept the season series, Ottawa swept the season series. 2 games in 2 weeks. Well,
good thing we're not playing them 10 games. All right. Bruce, what's your number?
My number is 25. And this is now the number of consecutive games where the Oilers have given up at least 2 goals. The last time they held a team to 1 goal was way back on November 18th. There was a total lunar eclipse. You might remember it. It was a long time ago, right? Yeah, like 2.5 months ago. And all that time since then, not once have they held a team under 2 goals. That night they beat Winnipeg 2-1 in the shootout, and Stuart Skinner made like 46 saves, and that was how they managed to do it. But this team, several times lately they've 2-2 and gone to overtime, so they're holding other teams to 2 now, which is way better, but they're not shutting anybody down. And Ottawa had plenty of good chances tonight, and two goals that they got in regulation were, given the quality of their chances, you can't really put all of it on the goaltending. But the Oilers as a team, they don't suppress enough goals to I think take it to the next level in terms of being able to compete for playoffs and so on. You got to be good at the defensive side of the game. 25 games in a row. So no shutouts all year, and just 3 games all year where the other team got 1 goal, and 2 of those were in the first 7 games.
My number has to do with Puljujarvi, Bruce. He hasn't scored since December 16th when he scored 2 against Columbus. That's, by my count, 13 games without a goal. So I was looking, like they took him off the power play. I was looking if there's been a drop in his grade A shots. He does have 9 grade A shots on the power play in those 13 games, and in the first, I don't know how many other I think he's played 38, so 25 games. He had 16 grade A shots on the power play. Oh, excuse me, I'm not looking at shots. I was looking; those are contributions to major chances. So he's still contributing as much as ever with his screening on the power play in both situations. He's getting it done in both situations very well on the power play. So that's not any reason to take him off there. His screens are in battles won and passing on the power play is exemplary, has been all year. But he's getting lots of chances at even strength. He was set up by Draisaitl early in the game tonight. And there's lots of chances where he's set up in similar kind of plays, right in tight. He's got more Willie Lindstrom hands than Jari Kurri hands by the looks of things, Bruce, is what I'm going to say. And Willie Lindstrom was a decent goal scorer, but he was never an elite one. And, maybe Puljujarvi will, he's a great big guy. He can still develop the scoring touch. Starting to wonder, though, like where he's going to fit in that realm. It's been a while. He's never been a great goal scorer at the NHL level yet. He hasn't developed it yet. He's a very good player, but man, he's getting a lot. He is, I think, still getting lots of chances, and
not a great chance tonight. 30 seconds into the game.
That's what I'm saying. Draisaitl set him up there, let me just see. 13.
It's 11 games for him, 13 for the team. He scored against Columbus. He scored 2 power play goals in the first period in that game where they hadn't scored first for a while, breaking, and they got a 2-man power play on the same play, and Jesse went out on the power play and he pumped them both in 5-on-3 and again 5-on-4, and then he got COVID in Seattle. And he couldn't play that game, and he couldn't play the game after the break because it was still on the 10-day. So he didn't come back till New Year's Eve. And since then, he's played 11 games, and he's had 0 points in 10 of them. It's not just goals.
How many goals does he have yet so far this year? Do you recall? I'm just looking it up right now.
Let's go back to the previous page. He has 10 goals and 15 assists. 25 points in 38 games. Well, after 27 games, he had 10 goals and 13 assists for 23 points. And then since then, just 2 points in 1 game.
So in his first 35 games, Bruce, he had 40 grade A shots in total. And in his last 13, he's had 16. So there's been no drop off in his rate of grade A shots, even though he's in a scoring slump. He's still getting grade A shots on net. He's had 56 grade A shots in total. That should be about 14 goals. If he's scoring at a grade A shot's about a 25% shot. I'm gonna suggest his shots are from so in close that you'd expect a little higher percentage even. So there's some bad puck luck or maybe he's just not someone who can pick that corner. We'll see. He is getting lots of grade A shots, so that's a fair number of them. So maybe he'll turn it around. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I'd still put him out on the power play just for his screening alone.
And his puck recoveries. Yeah.
And his puck recovery. He's a really key part of that unit. I think with Nuge there, they'll start to get it together again. We'll see, you know, as they all get, a few of them are coming off COVID, and we'll see what happens. But I'm not despairing about the power play, but and I don't think it needs major changes. So just keep going, and I don't know. They talked about working harder on the power play a little while ago. So I don't know if I saw that tonight.
Right.
But well, Bruce, I got to head out here. So thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and good luck in your game tonight, David.
Thanks, Bruce. I'll need it. And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.